Welcome to today's experiment in the laboratory. Today we're going to be reacting solutions together. As we've said before, in chemistry we make a clear distinction between simply forming a mixture, that's simply mixing things together, and actually having a reaction. And you're going to be mixing a number of solutions together and see if they actually have a reaction or if you're just forming a mixture. For this experiment, you're going to want to set up a data table for recording your observations. And you want the table to look like that once you've got it set up. Across the top of the table, you want to list the solutions you are working with. In the first row underneath them, you want to observe what they look like. You need to know what each of the compounds looks like before we start the experiment. You're looking for change. And so you want to know if something has changed, you have to know what it looked like to start with. The next column down, in reverse order for the chemicals, will set the table up for you. So, we have set up our experiment with 5 of our solutions, each in their own test tube. The copper acetate, the sodium carbonate, the lead nitrate, potassium chromate, and the hydrochloric acid. We're now going to add to those test tubes our 6th solution, the silver sulfate solution. First, we'll add it to the hydrochloric acid solution. Pour them together, stir them around, and observe the results. Next, we'll add it to the potassium chromate solution. Stir it around and observe the results. Next, we'll add it to the lead nitrate solution. Stir it around and observe the results. Next, we'll add it to the sodium carbonate solution. Stir it around and observe the results. And finally, we'll add it to the copper acetate solution. Stir it around and observe the results. And that is the end of the first stage of our experiment. That finishes the first row on our data table. Now to go on to the next row on our data table. So for the next part of the experiment, we've taken 4 of our solutions, the potassium chromate, the lead nitrate, the sodium carbonate, and the copper acetate, and put them in test tubes. And now we're going to add our last solution, the HCl, to each of those and see what happens. We mix them together and observe the results. Mix them together, observe the results. mix them together. Observe the results. Mix them together. Observe the results. That finishes the first row on our data table. Now to go on to the next row on our data table. This time we have 3 of our solutions to test with the 4th one that we haven't done yet. So this time we are adding potassium chromate to our copper acetate, sodium carbonate, and lead nitrate solution. Pour them together, mix, and see what happens. Stir them together and observe the results. So we mix the solutions together and see what happens. And so we want to go on to the next row on our data table. Now we're down to our last 3 solutions. We have to add the lead nitrate to the sodium carbonate and see what happens. Mix them together and observe. Add the lead nitrate to the copper acetate. Mix them together and observe. And so we want to go on to the next row on our data table. Finally, we're down to our last 2 solutions, the sodium carbonate and the copper acetate. Pour them together and observe the results. And that concludes today's experiment. You have to take your observations and go back over them and make a decision. When you combined those 2 solutions, did you get a reaction? Did something change? Or did you get a mixture? Did you simply blend the 2 together and nothing really happened? That's the question asked by the lab, and that's what you have to include in your lab report for each pair. Go have a nice day.